Okay. All right, I'll make a start. So I'm going to talk about, can we scare people green, and are there more creative ways of climate communication? And I'll talk about stories and positive role models, psychological theories, a little bit about the Green Stories Project. And I'll give some examples of how some quite creative ways that have been found to engage people in climate. And I'll talk about the project we did with BAFTA as well, the climate characters. And we'll finish with a Throughtopian approach. So a little bit about me. So I'm Denise Baden. I'm a professor of sustainable practice. My background is in psychology. Um, I'm also a bit of a climate activist, and I'm an author and run Habitat Press, which is an imprint that deals in fiction with purpose. So I've got a number of strings to my bow. But I want to start off by asking you a question. News stories, which do you think would be more effective in inspiring people to take action to address the issue? News stories about turtles being caught up in plastic and things like that, or news stories on projects to clean up plastic in oceans? So would you like to
I,
give
I
me
kind of I kind of think about how we define effective in this context.
Okay, it's part of a study, and where I expose people to different versions of the same news story, of the same issue, and this would be a typical one. And I asked them how likely they were to become more environmentally friendly themselves, to make their opinion known through a petition or writing to their MP, or to donate to an environmental charity. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean.
My
So,
first guess would be the first one because it's based on fear, maybe fear of
um, yeah.
hurting other human beings.
What about you, Sue?
Yeah, I actually think the opposite. So I look at
Mm,
these things and I feel helpless and
yeah,
I feel pain when I see
mm,
the turtles and the plastic.
yeah,
And I feel inspired when I see people doing things and taking
yeah,
action, and that there's already something that's working. There's already a movement
yeah.
towards it. And in fact, I am subscribing to a
Oh,
Right.
resurgence and
Okay.
ecologist, and but
Yeah.
but I
You're
didn't used to. So, I'm used, positive news I used to get, but it helps and it's inspiring because otherwise it feels a bit hopeless. And
you're
what do we do? We're only
completely
seeing the
right.
bad.
Yeah, that's exactly what my research found. Most people focus on raising awareness of the problem, and that's where the news is. Pretty well 99% of the time, it will focus on the problem. And the idea is that, if you focus on the solutions or things getting better, it might lead to complacency. But I also think it's just built into the news cycle. If it bleeds, it leads. Um, so I found, and I've done this over a number of different samples, the more negative news stories that focus on the problem lead to more despair, more pessimism, more sadness, especially amongst female respondents, which it's not too surprising that it does overall, but there was a real gender split there. But in terms of, in terms of which one inspired action to address the issue, the positive, the more news stories, the ones showing solutions, were way more likely to inspire intentions to do something. Whereas, like you said, Sue, the ones focusing on the problem can lead to a feeling of helplessness or sort of passive despair. So, you can explain this through the theory of planned behavior. And this is the only academic bit, but it's the most well-established theory of behavior. And it says behavior is a product of attitude, like what do you feel about something, the subjective norm, what's everyone else doing, what's accepted, and perceived behavior control, your feeling of agency. So if we say recycling, whether or not you recycle will be a product of your attitude towards recycling, whether or not your friends and neighbours would disapprove if you didn't recycle, and most important, do you have recycling facilities available? Now, pretty well, all communication that aims to change behaviour focuses on attitudes. But the fact is, decades of research has shown a real attitude behaviour gap. Pretty well everyone has positive attitudes towards doing the right thing. But actually, whether or not you do depends on how much you'll feel judged if you don't, or you feel it's expected of you, basically what everyone else is doing, and how easy it is for you to do that. And very little communication focuses on those two aspects. So immediately, most of us are doing it wrong. I first realized this issue because I teach business ethics. And one of my I did some research to see if they were more ethical after taking the business ethics course than before. And it turned out they weren't. And it's like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. And so then I did an experiment where they were all in the lectures exposed to the same ethical theories, but in the classes, half of them were exposed to business ethics scandals, which is the typical way of teaching business ethics, like a business that did everything wrong, what went wrong, and how everyone suffered. And then the other class were exposed to positive role models, like business leaders known for, being sustainable, social entrepreneurs, and so on. And I got the same results as the new study. The ones that were more positive and showed how you could do things better were way more likely to lead to ethical intentions. Whereas teaching business ethics scandals led to cynicism, which was directly correlated with less ethical behavior. Whereas the positive role models led to a feeling of agency, like I know how to do this and it's normal to be ethical, which was directly correlated with more ethical intentions. So you can see that that diagram in practice there. I also did some research into climate fiction, because most climate fiction is dystopian. It basically works on the premise that scare people stupid with how terrible things will be if we don't do what we need to do, and then maybe that will change their behavior. And I exposed around 100 readers to 4 short stories. 2 had a solution focus, and 2 were about the problem, a more catastrophic focus. And I got the same results again. The one with the solution focus were way more likely to lead to feelings of agency, like I can make a difference. They were more likely to lead to ethical intentions. The most effective seemed to be a character that was engaging in green behaviors that they felt able to do themselves. The more catastrophic ones, some people were inspired to ethical behavior, but just as many switched off. Some felt guilty or defensive or manipulated. Some just didn't want to be scared. There's also, I said my background was psychology. Studies of fear shows that it doesn't necessarily bring out our best selves. So you may be able to scare people into thinking, yes, there's a problem, but it doesn't mean it will lead to proactive behavior change. Like if you make people frightened of climate change, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to write to their MP to demand climate policies give up beef and flying. They might be just as likely to buy up all the toilet rolls and blame, marginalized groups and vote for populist leaders, for example. So you might not always get the behavior you want. So it seems that in terms of climate communication, we've been doing it all wrong. We've been focusing on raising awareness of the problems. And my research across news, across education, and across fiction clearly shows all kinds of samples that more solution-focused communications do the job much more effectively. So there's 4 common mistakes, I think, when communicating climate. One is focusing on raising awareness. So raising awareness doesn't necessarily lead to the kind of behavior change you want. Focusing on problems, not solutions. Another one is preaching to the converted. So quite often only certain people who are already interested will say attend a business ethics course or watch a climate documentary or read climate fiction. You're kind of engaging those who are already interested rather than everyone else. Another issue is not knowing your facts. So many so-called climate solutions aren't that at all. I fell into that trap. One of the projects I run is a sustainable hairdressing project. And I was happily preaching the benefits of sustainable palm oil and actually won an award for that project. And the guy filming me, when I talked about sustainable palm oil, he said, "Can I just stop you there? Don't mention that." I was filming in Indonesia with these so-called sustainable palm plantations, and they're not sustainable at all. And I did my research, and he's right. There's just as many fires, there's just as much habitat loss. Um, the typical response of business to an issue of climate is to say, don't buy this product, buy this other product instead. Or they'll swap out palm oil for, say, another kind of oil. But then you just solve one problem by causing two others, because actually palm oil is quite productive. So you're just leading to something else. So well, I just wanted to include this one because I built on that research to try and show mini vignettes of mini characters to showcase the many ways in which using less benefits your hair and your bills and saves time and benefits your skin. So I contrast Joe, for example, who shampoos twice a week, uses leave-in conditioner. She doesn't rinse and repeat because you don't need to actually. And she might use dry shampoo now and then if she needs to. And her like carbon cost is like 25 kilograms a year. The cost is £27. Energy use 55 kilowatt. But Sam, who shampoos, rinses, repeats, rinses again, conditions every day, it's not 10 or 20% less. It's up to 579 kilogram versus 25, £245 versus 27. It's a huge difference. And Sam's hair suffers from poor condition because overwashing strips the oils from the hair. Exposure to long hot showers and chemicals and shower gels exert an aging effect on the skin. Because just like in our gut, our skin has friendly bacteria keeping it young. These power showers don't do it any good at all. And Sam takes ages to get ready in the morning. So I kind of show it more solution focused and what are the benefits. And that proved to be really useful in terms of engaging people in low resource hair care, for example. And it's not something any advert's going to tell you that less is more. So I said we're doing it all wrong. If we look at culture, a friend of mine plotted films in terms of how plausible they were versus dystopia, utopia. And you can see pretty well every film that has any relation to the future is dystopian. Yeah. There's really nothing in the plausible and utopian realm apart from Fairhaven. So Fairhaven, I'll come to that later, is a book that won one of our Green Stories novel competition, or I think it was a runner-up. We published it via Habitat Press, and it's set in Malaysia, and it follows this Malaysian woman from childhood to sort of matriarch, and she becomes president of the ocean. And it really showcases in fiction form how you can build resilience in a low-lying island complex. And I love the idea of giving the ocean nation status. Anyway, a film director is really interested in this, who knows Michelle Yeoh, if anyone knows her from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And we're really, really excited that it might get turned into a film. So we put it in there anyway. It's not yet. These things are always a long shot, but and what sold it is that it's a novel of climate optimism, not climate complacency, but it showcases all the different things. You've got oil rigs turning to reefs, you've got refreezing of the Arctic, you've got mangrove terraces build up to build seawalls, all kinds of different things. So really, I think when we're trying to communicate this kind of thing, as an academic, I had to have a 2 by 2 matrix. You've got, I think probably most of us will fit in one of these boxes: high eco-anxiety or low eco-anxiety, low agency, high agency. So a lot of kids these days, if you read the statistics, and I know personally, are quite climate anxious. Even if they don't show it, they have nightmares, lack of hope for the future, and a low sense of being able to do anything about it. And you have pointless fretting, pessimism. There's also a fair few who just, it's not on their radar, don't think about it, don't do anything about it. There's people like myself who I am climate anxious, and I do feel I can do something about it. And the issue there is sometimes you can have driven action at the expense of mental health, risk of burnout, and you can alienate others. I don't know if anyone saw Don't Look Up, uh, where Jennifer Lawrence like loses it in that talk show and completely alienates the audience. I've been that person. So I think trying to shift to calm, effective action is a useful sort of technique to use. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I've tried to do that in various projects I've been involved in. One of them is the Green Stories project. So we saw that matrix with films, but it's the same with books. There are very few books, and if you can suggest any, please let me know, that show positive visions of what a sustainable future might look like if we did things right and how we might get there. There's very few books that show characters just behaving naturally in a particularly green or sustainable way without them being some kind of quirky or weird. Um, so I set up the Green Stories project to try and encourage more fiction that wrote into that space, that either showed positive visions of a sustainable future and how we might get there, or highlighted climate policies in a way that we can engage with. So far we've run 21 free competitions. We've done plays, novels, children's books, flash fiction, radio, screenplay, and so on. So our last one was a flash fiction competition on the theme of epiphanies, trying to capture those moments where a character suddenly sees things in a different way and changes for the greener. And we got lovely entries, and we've got an anthology just about to come out in a couple of weeks, so you can pre-order it now, called The Last Plastic Fork. And it's an absolute gem. It's about close on 50 really, really short stories, and they're so inspiring. Some of them are really funny. My favorite is Do Bees Like Raving, um, which you have to buy it to see a little bit more about that. But that's really good fun. I'm pleased with that. And I'm hoping to do some research on it as well to see, can these epiphanies be contagious? Coming up also is a short film competition. We're just waiting for confirmation of sponsorship, where we make it available to filmmakers, film students, animators, and so on, to take one of these stories and adapt it to a short film, either 5 minutes or under 90 seconds. And then we can get these out via TikTok and film festivals and so on. So keep an eye on the Green Stories website if you are interested in that. Another project I did with BAFTA was we wanted to try and make the connection between behaviour and our actions, and also highlight the carbon footprint of fictional characters, because actually they set our standards, they set our norms, they show us what to aspire to. So, for example, you've got James Bond with his single-use sports car, his walk-in wardrobe of luxury suits, versus like Jack Reacher, who only uses buses and who only shops in thrift shops. And one of them has a really high carbon footprint to take out the bad guys, and the other one doesn't. And we had about 6 of these, and they're quite fun. And we attached them to a survey, mostly sent out to media students, where we asked them, do you think you're affected by how fictional characters behave? Do they affect, what you aspire to? Do you think it matters if they show high carbon, like jet-setting lifestyles as aspirational? And it was quite interesting that like nearly half, like more when I thought about 40% thought it did matter that screenwriters showed high carbon footprints as aspirational, and no one wanted every character to be sort of, boring and dull and, didn't do anything, but they did think it, there could be a little bit more care and thinking about that. And they thought it probably did affect attitudes and behaviors, or if they thought it didn't for themselves, they thought it would affect other people's, which was quite interesting. So that kind of raised the issue of how what we watch and engage in fictional characters can affect us in kind of a fun way. So if you're on social media, click hashtag climate characters and share some of these posts because they're quite fun. Another one I did is with the Green Storage Project, one of the issues I had is that despite making it really, really clear that we wanted solution-focused stories, most people still wrote about the problem. So we had hundreds of stories about, say, someone who chucks in their job to go and fight, rainforest loggers. One, there's the carbon footprint of getting there. Two, the problem isn't the loggers themselves, it's systemic. So in the end, just before lockdown, there was a local guy, he'd retired early, to help people make their gardens wildlife friendly. And he set up this green garden consultancy, and I was his first client. And he came along and he showed me how to put up a water butt and a pool and pollinator friendly plants and how to keep my lawn a bit longer and all kinds of things, what the birds liked. And he taught me to see my garden in a whole new way, like not for me, but for the wildlife there. I didn't know that when I used flea treatment or worming treatment, it would affect the microbes in my soil. That, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know just how terrible pesticides were and how unnecessary as well. And he said, I would love to do all gardens, but I'm just one person. And I thought, what a great idea for a plot. And I wrote Habitat Man, about a man who visits different gardens to make them wildlife friendly. But I throw in a body, which he digs up, and I throw in a love story, and it got to the last round of a Radio 4 adaptation, actually, so it nearly got picked up by that. And the University of Southampton did some research on it, and they looked at 50 readers 1 month after finishing their book. And 98% had adopted greener attitudes, and 60% had adopted at least one green alternative as a result of reading the book. Now, I've never had that kind of impact from any of my academic articles. Particularly impressive was the graveyard, the natural burial scene. So, if I've got a body, I can do a natural burial. And people didn't really think about burials as being really unfriendly for the environment, but it's good hard wood going into the ground. It's the chemicals used will poison everything in the environment, and natural burials are so lovely. And so a lot of people wrote to me saying they changed their will to have a natural burial, which was absolutely wonderful. So one of the things that I would do, one of the things I noticed from that is there's a court scene in there simply because I love court scenes. And I use that as an opportunity to talk about the burials and pros and cons. But it was the actual scene where there was a burial that really inspired people. So I'm just going to show, I've got a 2-minute clip by Dave Goulson, who set up the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. And he did it in his garden. And I'm just trying to find the right one. Let's have a look. Right, here we are. Can you see the screen there? There we are.
Hi, I'd like to read to you an extract from Habitat Man. The music of the garden took over from the fiddles. Undeterred by the crowd, a tiny brown wren, tail cocked in the air, trilled its liquid song from the new willow fence. Nearby, a chiff-chaff chanted the repetitive call of its name. A queen bumblebee bird, her legs loaded with balls of pollen for her hungry offspring. A brimstone butterfly fluttered by, investigating the flowers on the willow bower, its bright yellow wings a flash of sunshine. A roar of a plane flying overhead reminded us that we weren't in the deep countryside, but in a suburban small garden underneath the flight path from the airport a few miles down the road. When the plane had passed, we tuned again into the sounds of nature. After a few moments, Fern nodded at Andrew and Daisy, and together they carefully lifted the willow curtain down from the branches and walked it to the end of the garden. I steeled myself to look, but it wasn't the deep, dark, rectangular coffin-shaped hole I'd pictured in my head. The hole in the ground was just as I'd left it, pond-shaped and 3 feet deep, except now Grandad, as I thought of him, was laid out in his baggy trousers, and a colourful knitted jumper in the willow coffin, surrounded by the bones of his wife. I exhaled with relief. This was absolutely right. The shallow pond-shaped hole was like nature's opening arms, welcoming them back to the earth. Thank you.
Right. Let me share again. Get back to my one. Right, good. So I just wanted to show that because that was the one that really seemed to inspire people to want to change their behavior, just making them experience it for themselves through the power of fiction. So I want to talk to you now about Throughtopia. So Throughtopia is not, it's a new term. It's not like dystopia, it's not like utopia, which is a sort of a perfect place that doesn't exist. The Throughotopian approach imagines a sustainable society and then works backwards from there to see how we might get there. Okay, and this is the approach that I think is really important for us to take. And so I want to do an exercise with you. And I want you to shut your eyes. And I want you to take 2 minutes. Okay? And I want you to bypass your rational mind. And with your heart and soul, I want you to dream. Imagine it's 10 years in the future. The world has done an about turn and it's exactly as you'd love it to be. Walk through your transformed neighborhood. What do you see, hear, smell? How do you feel? What are other people doing? So I'm going to let you daydream now for 2 minutes. In about 2 minutes. Would anyone like to share what they dreamt about?
I'm happy to start.
Uh-huh.
Three things. One is instead of the concrete jungle that we have around where we live in the almost in the center of Budapest, we would have lots of trees. And the second thing is we have some unused, um, well, I wouldn't say big areas, but like smaller areas, and there could be mini community gardens
Uh-huh.
with like little, I don't know, tomatoes and herbs and stuff like that. And the third one, we would have trees in the street because we don't really have here where I live. We just don't have trees. Yeah, those three.
Okay, lovely. Sounds much nicer.
Yes.
Well,
Maybe adding to that, the gardens would be all connected with one another.
uh-huh.
We have now a connection with our back neighbor. So
Yeah.
the garden is open, and with our neighbor to the side, we made an opening in the stone wall, so that the animals can cross from one garden to another more easily.
Excellent, like hedgehogs and things.
Yeah. Also, the burial site
Yeah.
would have a spot for natural. Um, how do you call it, Denise? Natural
Wildlife?
funeral,
Oh, yeah, natural burial. Yeah.
but natural barrier. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the sound would be different. I
Yeah.
remember during COVID that the sounds were different in our neighborhood because there were no planes
It's
anymore,
lovely and peaceful, wasn't it?
and the cars had all stopped. So no more combustion engines. Yeah.
Yeah, it was peaceful.
Mhm.
Uh, Sue, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll build on that. Community space, community gardens. I mean, I live in the village. I still live in the village that I grew up, but we have no shops.
Yeah.
We have people are building big gates and big walls to keep their
Mm.
big cars in. You know, this is not the way it used to be. And I would have community sharing and growing space and place for people to come together and be well and connect over more than the school or the clubs. Because
Yeah.
everybody gets in their big cars and drives off to what they do. And
Yeah.
to me, it would be cut the food miles. You know, I'd like to grow veg, but I don't know how. But I'd love to partner with somebody and get involved. You know, I'm
Yeah.
really happy to be part of a team and do the work and do the sharing.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Um, that's quite common. I mean, I tried this several times and it's always the same. What people want is more nature, less traffic. No one's ever asked for more shops. Yeah, community food is often a big thing. Yeah, sense of community. Um, so the next step is so you thought with your heart, now think with your head. What kind of policies or practices might get us there? So this encourages us to think in terms of systems thinking. So, change requires government policy. So what might how would politics need to change or, um, our values need to change? Would business need to change? So imagining what might get us there is another step. So do you want to sort of take a few moments and think what might lead to that? How could we reach this lovely society? And I'm just going to walk around a bit, I disappear every minute because I got a back pain at the moment. So
Oh,
a couple of minutes and then we'll feed back on that. Anyone got any ideas they'd like to share?
One thing I would like to see in our community, there's a lot of people who have sun photovoltaic plates on their roofs. Yeah.
Solar panels, yes.
Solar panels, yeah. And all the excess energy that we produce is being fed back into the system and we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But we are fortunate to be oriented towards the south side. So my roof is full of solar panels. But wouldn't it be great to have a local battery?
Yes.
So, and if the community could support the local battery so that all the excess goes also to the other houses, maybe houses that are surrounded by trees, so that we can produce our own local energy.
Yeah. I just got solar panels and I'm not even particularly well set up for it. But my bill's gone from about 180 quid a month to 18. And sometimes I get it for free. And we had a power cut the other day, and I didn't have to worry because I had a little battery. So my freezer didn't defrost. I just felt so smug. And it actually has given me a new relationship with the sun. I just love the feeling of self-sufficiency it gives me. Like, everything could collapse, but I would still now get energy direct from the sun. I don't need anybody else. I've got, yeah.
Like I have an electric car, so I drive on sunlight.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything else? Anyone else?
I can't have solar panels. My roof, even though that way is south, my roof is not suitable. So there's, I can't do that. But I would love a local initiative where we could combine forces, as you say. That would be great, because one of the things, problem focused, Thatcherism got us here. There's no such thing as society and the move to the individual, and everybody has to look after themselves. And the wounds and the legacy of that runs so deep. And the governments are too scared, apart from the new Green Party and bravery. But this is where I feel hopeless a little bit, because I'm not good. I don't want to be in local politics. I don't want to do these things. So it's like, how do I play my part in this when these are things that are sort of outside of my, it feels like it's outside of both of my competence and my interest. Yeah.
There is a podcast, it's just started, called Let's Screw This and Try Something Different. And the first episode is about a village near Bristol that managed to set up community food, community energy, community housing, local shops. It's actually quite remarkable. They did it all themselves. It can be done.
I love to hear that. And I've been feeling that for kind of a long time. And I would love to be part of it. And I need someone else who has the executive function. I have the ideas. I have neither the executive function nor the administration resources to make it happen. I just need to find some people that do. Yeah.
So, I'm just checking time, move on a bit. So one of the things that I thought really hard about how we can get to this perfect future. Now, I first studied economics and politics, then I did a science foundation degree, then I did a PhD in psychology. I ended up in the business school and I'm a writer. So I've kind of covered almost all things. So it gives me quite a good systems approach. So I kind of can see how all the bits fit in. And one of the things I realized is that our current democracy, which is based on 4-year electoral cycles, is never going to think long term. It's also completely hijacked now by corporate lobbying and vested interests. Our public votes on base of the media, which again, those with the big money invested interests have the biggest voice and own a lot of the media outlets. And I think the quality of democracy is entirely dependent on the quality of information the electorate are exposed to. So we've got a good big problem. I don't think our current democracy is constitutionally set up to deal with long-term urgent issues. But citizens' assemblies are really coming into focus now. And these are where you have, say, about 100 people, and they're given a topic to debate. Like the Ireland Citizens' Assembly debated same-sex marriage and abortion. Sometimes difficult things for politicians to debate. Quite often they'll do climate policies. And they're informed by experts, not vested interests. And they sit at tables of about 8 per table, each with a chair to make sure that nobody dominates. And it's proper participative democracy. And it's been shown that when you give people this power, they do actually make really good quality decisions. And they also get, so we had a local climate assembly where I live, and the people taking part were so excited. They felt euphoric because in our current divisive culture, to sit opposite people who felt differently and be able to walk in their shoes and debate peacefully was actually quite inspiring, and they really gave them hope. And they came up with really good decisions as well. So there has been campaigns to build citizens' assemblies into our structure of government and into our decision making. So I think the Sortition Group, for example, are campaigning for a House of Citizens to replace the House of Lords. The main issue is lack of awareness. So I wrote a play set in a citizens' assembly, and I called it Murder and the Citizens' Jury because we're more familiar with juries, and you know, who doesn't love a jury murder? And so it's I have 8 people debating climate policies, and then there's a murder. So it's perfect because these people are all just chosen as they are in citizens' assemblies to be as different from each other and as representative of the nation as possible. So different classes, genders, ethnicities, and so on. And they all have different relationship to the climate policies. So it's a lovely way to showcase the pros and cons of each climate policy, and raise awareness of citizens' assemblies themselves. And we did it as a play. And in the end, the audience have to, you know, choose their favorite climate policy. And they also have to vote on the ending, because the detective has a dilemma that he can't answer. So I'll just show you a very quick clip and you can get a sense of it. I've got to work out how to stop sharing again. There we are. Won't be a moment. Share. I think that's it. There.
Unique, thought-provoking, and a little intense.
This show is called Murder and the Citizens' Jury, and it imagines 8 people in a citizens' assembly on climate, and then there's a murder.
Good evening. There was some cracking beach weather to be had across many parts of the UK.
Temperatures reaching more than 40 degrees Celsius.
And be warned, it is going to get hotter, which has caused the Met Office and Public Health England to issue warnings.
The show is a locked room murder, so there's lots of drama, obviously, because these people, as is the case with citizens' assemblies, are all drawn from different parts of the world, different age, gender, class. So naturally, when they're debating these policies, there's going to be some fun conflict.
Personal carbon allowances.
So the show, I think it's a double-edged thing, really. It's sort of the moral, sort of social dilemma versus the law dilemma, I suppose, where what would you do in this situation? It's a bit of a whodunit, a bit of a mystery. And also it's tackling much greater issues of climate policies and procedures, issues on a sort of personal scale and also on a global scale as well, which is quite important.
So the things that we explore in this play are libraries of things, on-demand buses, repair cafes and the repair bill, and then personal carbon allowances as well, which could be really transformational. So we cover a lot of really important climate change solutions in this show.
I thought it was really exciting and very fast-paced and fun.
Absolutely loved it. It was really inspiring, some amazing ideas that I hadn't even thought of. I feel quite passionate about the whole thing actually after watching that.
Stop sharing. So that was a local drama group who put it on.
Wow.
So Lizzie B, I think I've got the rights to sell it to professional theatre groups, but if anyone comes to me direct, I'm making it available royalty free for any student groups or amateur theatre groups. So if you'd like to put it on, we've had a sellout run in Southampton. We had a sixth form do it, which went down really well. I think it's going to come on. I think Cork University are going to put it on with their university theatre company. So please do get in touch. Love to make it available. But the director said people were still talking about the play, days later and still debating the climate policies. So it did exactly what I hoped. It entertained and it informed and it raised awareness. I also had that as a story within a story, in a sort of campus novel stroke philosophy stroke whodunit, which was released in October. And the protagonist is Iris Tate, Professor of Moral Philosophy. And when the Dean proposes the concept of edutainment, Iris devises a course based on a whodunit that all assume is hypothetical, a murder in a climate assembly. So a variety of characters provide an entertaining source of ethical dilemmas, and each relates to proposed climate policies in different ways. But the students don't know is that the ultimate dilemma is very real. So that's just come out. So I do love a bit of philosophy, so I kind of have a little bit of fun with that, and I do quite like a campus novel, and that's got the whodunit sort of written in as a story within a story. So that's quite fun. So just to sort of start summing up now, I think the thing to do is you can't scare people green, or you can scare a few, but you don't know, you might be leading to unintended consequences. So focus on agency, showing solutions, role models, examples of success, and find innovative ways to engage those outside of the climate echo chamber. So I've shown a few. There's the hairdressing project, where we engage hairdressers in promoting sustainable low resource hair care, the BAFTA hashtag climate characters project, a play, some books, and so on. So also understand what works and what is a pretend solution. There's a lot of greenwash out there. And I gave the example of so-called sustainable palm oil, which isn't really sustainable. My next project for 2026 is a jigsaw to save the world. So I like the idea of doing a jigsaw. And there's not going to be one. This is going to be mine. It's starting off as a fortnightly LinkedIn newsletter, and it's also going to be written up as a book and an actual jigsaw. What I like about it is that on the front cover, you have the desired future you want to get to. So what does a lovely, flourishing, sustainable future look like to us? So there'll be nature, there'll be trees, there'll be birds, there'll be local food, there'll be, clean water, clean energy, public transport that is so convenient you wouldn't even want your own car, and how might we get there? And I've got some of the different ideas in there. And then there'll be the corner pieces. And the corner pieces are the institutional elements that without these, they're really not going to work. So I've talked about citizens' assemblies as one corner piece, because until you have a political system that really represents what people want, you're not going to get the kind of change that we need. So if you want to know what the other three corner pieces are, you can sign up to my LinkedIn newsletter. And also on my website, I've got a web page dedicated to that. So that's me finished. So feel free to connect. All the books I mentioned are available on anywhere you get books, basically. And I've got 5 minutes left if anyone's got any questions.
This was absolutely brilliant, Denise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is very inspiring.
Good.
And useful. And needed.
Yes. I feel so hopeful. I just came from your session, Anton, which was, also rekindled my inspiration. And Denise, we've never met before. Oh my God, I need to come and hang out with you. You are an absolute marvel and an inspiration. And I'm so glad to be here with you. And I'm so thrilled you've done this session, one of the most important sessions in the whole they're all important, but I think this is one of the most important forward-looking ones.
Yes, I agree.
In the whole, yeah.
Thank you so much. It's a small audience, but a quality one.
Oh, absolutely. Whoever turns up are the right people.
Yeah,
I was wondering,
hope, isn't it?
Would it be possible for you to send us the presentation?
I asked Reka, how do I do that? I don't mind at all.
Yeah, if you send it to us, then Kati Hankoski will put it on the Padlet, where everyone is going to have their own spot with the recordings and the presentation and everything. So we are very happy if you share it with us, the organizers. We will post it and then let you all know about it.
I mean, is there a chat? I could put some of the key links in the chat if you like.
Yes,
Sure.
there is a chat.
That's also lovely.
Let me
There's
just...
a lot in the chat that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
We've been chatting.
I haven't seen the chat. Oh my gosh, there's lots going on in the chat.
Don't worry about it. We were just,
Save it.
sharing
Look at
thoughts
it later.
and
Yeah.
So some of the key links are there.
Thank you.
You'll find a lot of stuff on the Green Stories website and my website. And I'd really love people to sign up for if you're on LinkedIn, for the newsletter, because I'm really, really pleased with that. I'm trying to communicate it in a way that just focuses on the positive vision and skips all the scares and just really paints a lovely picture of how it could be so easily, because actually we don't need to change that much. So
How did you switch from being a climate panic person into such a climate hopeful person?
Oh, I think it started when I realized that my business ethics modules weren't making people more ethical.
Yeah.
And actually one student came up to me, because I was teaching them the way a lot of the books set out, where they show you ethics scandals and, and you deconstruct them. And one student thought I was teaching them how to cheat in order to be successful. And it's like, no, no. And that was my wake-up call, that if I took a more solution focus, and when I tested that with the research, I got completely different results, and I just switched then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I love that so much. Yeah. And Cora, it's so good to see you here.
Yeah.
I'd love to see young people involved, and particularly as I've been hanging out with both of your parents over the last couple of weeks in Portugal. But yeah. Oh no, that's going to be on the recording. Yeah.
That's all right.
Again, of course, is always.
Let me stop the recording.
Denise and
just trim that bit off the end.
Your approach